Time now to tackle the NFC East, won by the Eagles. We can now retire the trend that saw no repeat champion in the division for more than 20 years after Philly finally went back-to-back. Fortunately, Eagles weren't able to do the same with another Super Bowl run. Back here with Douz to talk about the NFC East free agent pool when it comes to these four teams. And let's start with the Eagles here. Safety Kobe Bryant, your selection in the offseason.
I like this pick for them. Vic Fangio, there were some question marks whether he might retire or not, but he's going to be back in his stead as defensive coordinator, leading one of the better defenses in football. A guy that's been a mainstay on this defense for the last few years, Reed Blankenship, is a free agent. The interesting thing about Kobe Bryant is he came in the league as a corner. A lot of people remember or don't remember, he was the opposite starting corner of Sauce Gardner in college at the University of Cincinnati. So he started off as an outside corner, a slot corner, and the last 2 years has been one of the most effective safeties at taking the football away. 7 interceptions from the safety position over the last 2 years. Just imagine what Vic Fangio could do with him and Cooper DeJean, because they both have a similar skill set, being able to play in the slot, being able to play multiple positions. It's going to make it hard for defenses to really key in on where they're going to be at. So I like the versatility of Kobe Bryant and what it means to a Vic Fangio defense. So, I mean, the biggest question with the Eagles, obviously, is can they get the offense right? Sean Mannion is the new offensive coordinator, but I gave them a little help on defense because Reed Blankenship is going to be a free agent.
Our staff had him going to the Patriots. What do you think about that move, potentially?
I think that's because Hawkins is going to be a free agent. I like that move, but I could see the Patriots re-signing Hawkins, especially after the run he's had this year.
The front seven, by the way, for the Eagles, you still feel bullish on them, and if they can attack, that helps a secondary and any addition that might come their way?
Well, there's going to be a guy we talk about later. If he's re-signed, I feel comfortable about it, but if he's not re-signed, then we got some question marks.
That's what they call the tease, folks.
You like that one, right?
Yeah, I do like that one. Our staff, by the way, had other suitors, Commanders, Panthers, and Vikings for Bryant, who is their 24th out of 50 highest free agent there on the list. Let's get to the Dallas Cowboys. We know offensively, no issues there, certainly. And George Pickens, which we're not even talking about, is arguably the top free agent out of them all. But you have Odafe Oweh arriving here from the Chargers.
Oh, yeah. And to your point, right, the biggest question is what are they going to do with George Pickens, right? Are they going to franchise tag him or extend him? We saw the Cincinnati Bengals struggle when they paid 2 prize receivers on the outside. But the Dallas Cowboys have really struggled getting after the quarterback, right? They brought in Dante Fowler back last year. Really didn't affect the quarterback as much as he did in his previous stop with the Dallas Cowboys. Donovan Ezra was a guy they drafted last year. Odafe Oweh, once he got traded from Baltimore to the Chargers, became a totally different dude, Tommy. I mean, finished with 7.5 sacks. But what he did in that wild card round and just dominating the Patriots, 3 sacks in that game. So, again, high upside for this kid. He's only 27 years old. And I think that because he was splitting the load last year as the third defensive end, that he's going to be motivated to be the guy in the Dallas Cowboys uniform. Now, again, they have to do some gymnastics when it comes to the cap as well and figure out what they're going to do with George Pickens. But they really struggle getting after the quarterback. And with those young corners, the easiest way to help them, Tommy, is to get after the passer. And Odafe Oweh showed last year he could do that.
We joke about how bad this defense was, which it was, but it did improve trade deadline. Things started to get better. What stood out to you about sort of the way they finished the season, the Cowboy D?
Quentin Williams. That's literally
that certainly
what happens
helps,
when you
right?
have a guy that's in the middle that can affect the quarterback and also help you against the run. That helps a lot. And also they started getting some of those players that were injured early in the season. They started coming back. So I think that's the thing about what people don't understand, Tommy, is when guys get hurt, right? The continuity, the nuances of the defense, learning it, how to work with guys on the field, that gets slowed down. It hurts your progression. We saw Dallas make some strides at the back half of the year because some of those younger players were coming back from injury.
All right, our staff does have him sticking with the Bolts. Other suitors, though, Niners, Bears, Eagles, Cowboys. So certainly anytime you have what skill set you're talking about, you're certainly going to get some eyeballs and some attention, whether that ends up landing or not. Commanders, what a crazy year-to-year turnaround. NFC Championship game to then having your quarterback hurt and not making the playoffs. But a corner via Chicago, Nahshon Wright would be a nice selection here for the Commanders.
And, Tommy, I could have went edge here as well because they really struggled to get after the quarterback. I mean, this defense was really bad last year, and it's strange to say that because they have a defensive-minded head coach who's been one of the better defensive minds in all of football. He actually took over play calling halfway through the year. But Nahshon Wright was a guy that came in and really elevated his game once he got his opportunity. Jalen Johnson was dealing with a lot of injuries. He came in and became one of the better players on that Chicago Bears defense. I believe he's the only player in 2025, Tommy, to have at least 5 interceptions, 10 passes defended, and 2 forced fumbles. So he's a guy that takes the ball away. You see it right here. He can go up and high point the football. He's a longer limbed corner, and we look at what they've done, the Commanders on the outside. Marshawn Lattimore has really struggled staying healthy first and foremost, but he's also struggled picking up that scheme out there. Love what they did with Trey Amos, taking him in the second round, but he dealt with injuries last year as well. You still have Mikey Sanders still. If you're a defense that struggles to get after a quarterback, why not get a guy that can take the football away? And there were a few corners that did it at a higher clip than Nashawn Wright last year. So they need instant playmakers on defense. I think Nashawn Wright is a guy who could take the football away and kind of change the culture of that defense for the Commanders.
You use the word injured a lot when talking about the Commanders.
Yeah.
It certainly applies to the team,
Correct.
to the quarterback.
To
we talked about Marcus Mariota last block. Assuming Jaden Daniels is fine, and again, we're given priority lists, so it's just one lead sort of like
Correct.
remedy, right? But let's just say Jaden Daniels is fine. You get right on there. How else would you attack the offseason and the draft if you're the Commanders to get better?
What I started off this segment saying pass rusher. They need a pass rusher in the worst way coming off the edge. Jacob Martin showed some flashes on the outside, but they need a guy that they can get that can guarantee them 8 to 10 sacks a year. They really haven't been able to do that on the outside. So I think they need to attack the edge position in free agency or the draft. It'll be interesting because they have a lot of moves to make, right? I believe Laramie Tunsil is going to want a new deal. Debo Samuel's a free agent as well. So there's going to be some moves that the Commanders need to make.
Our staff has the Bears still in the mix for him. He had that pick against J.J. McCarthy that certainly felt good. Minnesota, one of his old teams, also other suitors. Rams and Jags for Wright's services potentially on that top 50 free agent list. Wright coming in at 35. Last but not least, we got the New York Giants, which had Mike Kafka come in midseason for Brian Daboll. They've got Jackson Dart. They've got Cam Scatterboo. They've got an injured Malik Neighbors,
Correct.
but you've got a solution there to at least buffer that. And when Neighbors comes back, could prove to be a nice 1-2 combo.
When you have a young quarterback that's the franchise of your team, you got to get him as many weapons as possible to make life easy for him. Alex Pierce led the NFL in yards per catch. Tommy, this dude can open up the offense as far as pushing the ball down the field. And he's a guy that's a red zone threat. He can really go up and high point the football. Averaged over 21 yards a catch. What do you think that's going to do for Malik Neighbors when he comes back? And over the middle of the field is going to be opened up because that safety's going to have to stay back because Alex Pierce is on your team. Now, there was some concerns, and the Giants made a decision to hire Matt Nagy as offensive coordinator because that was my concern. I was like, I don't know who their coordinator is going to be, Tommy. But now that I know it's Matt Nagy, and we saw with the Chiefs how they want to push the ball down the field with Xavier Worthy, Alex Pierce can fit in that role in Matt Nagy's offense. So it's going to open things up for Scatterboo running the football and Tyrone Tracy. It's going to open things up for Jackson Dart between him and Malik Neighbors over the middle of the field. This guy can really get down the field in a hurry, and he's going to have a lot of suitors for him because he balled out last year.
Yeah, he was a deep ball threat. He stood out for Indianapolis. And you mentioned a lot of suitors because our staff has him as a top 10 guy, number 6, top 50 free agent, go to the Commanders, but you could go back to the Colts, Raiders, Steelers, Bills. If it's not the Giants, where else would Pierce fit? Back to Indy or somewhere else, you think?
Indy would probably want to sign him back, but I think the Steelers do make a lot of sense. You need somebody opposite of DK Metcalf. Now, Metcalf can get down the field as well, but you need a guy that can maybe take away that double team from DK Metcalf. So I think Alex Pierce makes a lot of sense going there, too. But I really love what he would do for Jackson Dart and the Giants.
Okay. The New York Football Giants wrapping things up for this block. I was just kidding with the Jet stuff earlier. We know that. Both are football teams. Yeah. They're going to be coming after me and my 6,000 followers. Taking a look at the NFC East standings again. We broke down their overall win-loss and division win-loss. Again, the Eagles were the last team mid-2000s to go back-to-back. I think they actually went 3 straight then. Finally, back-to-back this season and, of course, the Super Bowl winning season.